Hello everyone, I'm Samira and I'm Head of Change at the Legal Aid Agency. And I'm wanting to share with you an update on the progress that we've made so far. Internal access to CCMS Provider User Interface, which is PUI for short, was restored for caseworkers in late October. Since then, our civil casework teams have made significant progress at pace to manually upload contingency applications into the system, and that process is ongoing. Last week, we completed successful live trials with a small group of providers who submitted new applications and bills into CCMS with the support of our caseworkers. Feedback from this was very positive, and the trials confirmed that the core functionality is working as expected. This week, we have business acceptance testing underway with a larger group of providers, and we continue to closely monitor system performance throughout. So all of this marks our arrival at base camp rather than having climbed the summit. Reaching this milestone has required a monumental effort across the agency. I want to thank our operational, digital, security, data, and communications and legal teams for their collaboration and dedication. As civil legal aid providers, you make a difference every day, often to some of the most vulnerable members of society. And you have continued to do just that over the last 7 months in difficult and challenging circumstances. I want to extend a sincere thank you to all of you for your patience, your understanding, and your goodwill throughout this period. Your engagement and feedback, including through the representative body meetings and the process efficiency team meetings, has been invaluable. And on that note of gratitude, I will now hand you over to Tim, who will guide you through the new login processes and what you can expect from the secure browser. Over to you, Tim.
Hello everyone, I'm Tim Broomfield, a Senior Delivery Manager working for Technology Services within the Ministry of Justice, and I've been working to support and assist legal aid colleagues over the last few months during the service restoration process. As we look forward to restoring civil legal services, MOJ has implemented additional and enhanced security controls around the CCMS application using a method called Secure Browser, which is hosted on Amazon Web Services or AWS. In addition to using the Secure Browser, external users will have to undertake multi-factor authentication, or MFA as it's known, in order to access the application in a fully secure manner. This is in essence using an alternate device such as a mobile phone separate from your laptop or desktop to further prove and authenticate you as the individual with the right credentials to be able to access MOJ's system. The Secure Browser application is an isolation service, which means your own desktop or laptop computer is not actually being connected directly to the MOJ infrastructure. It's working as if it were a remote desktop, which protects both our systems and, much more importantly, your own data and your device, as they are entirely isolated from each other. Additionally, once you've completed your work within CCMS and you close that particular browser session, there is no data footprint left behind. There are no cached credentials or cookie type information data stored anywhere on AWS. It's simply discarded once the session is closed, further enhancing security. Clearly, any activity undertaken within the CCMS application itself is fully auditable for compliance reasons. And it's finally worth pointing out that this particular service does not require you as the end user to install any applications or overlay any VPN type services on your own device in order to avail of it. It's all controlled by the Ministry of Justice. You must be thinking, well, what does this mean for me? Well, principally, it's enhanced security to protect both your data and MOJ systems, and we believe this is required given the sensitive nature of the business that's undertaken within CCMS, such as case management, financial transactions, and billing functions, as mentioned on the previous slide. We've worked hard to configure this system to ensure only the right people with the right CCMS application permissions via what we call a security group can actually get further into security service for both you and us. This does, however, mean there are additional and incremental login steps for you to undertake as an external user in order to gain access to the system. As you'd expect, we've also implemented additional and enhanced security monitoring within our systems since the incident, and we will use the scalability of Secure Browser to ensure we prevent any overloading of our MOJ systems, whilst understanding there is a huge demand from yourselves as external users to get back onto the system and start covering backlogs of work as soon as possible. The additional step we've taken to introduce Secure Browser for CCMS usage should hopefully give you increased confidence of how seriously we are taking this restoration process. And I will now step through the user journey that you will have to go through as you log into sign into legal aid services, also known as SILAS, then into CCMS from an external location, utilizing the Secure Browser functionality. So when you select a link from a bookmark or similar to access the SILAS application, a pop-up will appear on screen that looks like this. There are two options you have as an external user, depending on the setup of your IT systems within your legal firm. These are the credentials you'll have to use to configure your SILAS account and against which permissions are applied to give you access. If your organization uses Microsoft 365 services and you've logged into your domain using credentials such as tim@lawfirm.com, then these should be used to progress through the process. This is the top red box on the screen with the arrow pointing in from the left. If, however, you use web-based email such as Gmail or Yahoo, you should enter these credentials into the lower red box and proceed from there, the arrow coming in from the right. Step 1A on the left-hand side of screen is for non-Microsoft users and entails the use of a one-time password that will be sent to your nominated email address. This will contain a unique 8-digit code that you will have to enter into the screen that you can see on the left here. And this is only applicable to non-Microsoft users, as those logging into a domain are considered as pre-authenticated, and the authentication systems will talk to each other behind the scenes and link you through to the next step, which is the first MFA. Depending on how you've configured your MFA when you registered for SILAS, you will either receive an SMS, a voice call, or you will have to unlock an authenticator application on your smartphone to proceed. The example you see on screen here is using Microsoft Authenticator as the application, and once unlocked you will receive a code, usually 2 digits, that you'll have to enter into the app that will then authenticate you into SILAS. Once you're within the Sign into Legal Aid Service or SILAS application, any LAA applications you have permissions to, you've been granted to, will appear on the screen. In this particular example, I've only been granted CCMS, so that's the only one to appear. You'll need to click on the link to open a new tab. Given Secure Browser is an AWS product, it is not Gov.uk or Legal Aid branded, which may come as a concern to some people. So we've put another page in the journey here explaining that it's quite safe to proceed to log into the Secure Browser. Simply click on the green bar to continue. As I explained earlier, Secure Browser is completely isolated, so there's now an additional requirement to re-enter the username and password credentials and a final MFA to get into CCMS. As per the signing in process for SILAS, as we explained earlier at points 1 and 2 within this presentation, you'll have to put the username and password you used earlier in again, and depending on whether or not your corporate organisation uses Microsoft services or not, it will then depend on how you proceed into CCMS. Once you've logged in and authenticated into the Secure Browser, the page will then redirect you and finally take you into CCMS, where you can undertake any necessary work. I know this looks complicated and confusing, but it does become easier once you've done it a few times, I assure you. I'll now be handing over to a colleague, Sean, who will take on to the next stage of the presentation.
Hello, my name is Sean Wardale, and I'm Head of Customer Service and Case Management Improvement at the Legal Aid Agency. I'm going to talk to you about our approach to phased onboarding and case reassignment. So, starting with phased onboarding. Before I go through the schedule and the approach we're taking, I want to give a bit of context to explain why we're taking a phased approach. Our approach is designed to safeguard system stability, manage risk, and ensure a smooth transition for all users and providers. So firstly, system stability and risk management. We're implementing a staged reintroduction of users to prevent system overload and maintain platform stability. By controlling the pace of access, we reduce the risk of system failure and ensure the platform remains secure as user numbers increase. Secondly, data-driven decisions. At each phase, we will monitor system performance and user experience closely. Decisions to scale up or pause will be based on real-time data and technical feedback, allowing us to respond proactively to any emerging issues. Controlled rollout of functionality. Initial access will be limited in both user numbers and available features. Full functionality will be restored only after the system demonstrates it can handle increased demand, enabling targeted troubleshooting and risk reduction. Provider communication. Clear, honest communication with providers is central to our approach. We will set expectations about phased access and provide timely updates if targets are not met or issues arise. This transparency is essential to maintaining trust. Regarding business continuity, should any issues arise, the phased approach provides a defined decision point to revert to business continuity processes or pause the rollout. This minimizes disruption for both providers and end users. And finally, regarding support, by controlling user numbers and activity scope, we can better manage support desk volumes and avoid overwhelming support channels during the initial restoration period. So with all that being said, I want to talk through some of the actual plans. So this week, the week commencing the 17th of November, we started business acceptance testing, which, as you can see from the slide, is scheduled between the 18th of November and the 21st of November. Over the course of this week, approximately 40 individuals from firms will support our business acceptance testing schedule. So on Tuesday and Wednesday, a smaller proportion of those providers will be working directly with LAA digital test professionals to run through a pre-prepared schedule of tests covering key predetermined scenarios. This is in support of initial testing our internal test teams have already undertaken themselves, but is a crucial step in testing the system in real situations. Then on Thursday and Friday, approximately 40 users will test the system independently. They will be working as they normally would, using the system as they would expect to when entering their work. Once business acceptance testing has concluded successfully, we will move to release access to CCMS to more providers. This will happen in week commencing the 24th of November. CCMS access will be enabled for people who work in firms that hold both a crime and civil contract. Provider administrators in those firms will be able to assign CCMS user roles to their staff. However, we will restrict functionality at this point. On day 1 and 2 of that week, user roles excluding billing roles will be restored. Firm administrators will be able to assign other role types. So from day 1, applications could be made, amendments to existing cases, and other administrative work could be undertaken. Additionally, we'll also control the number of users able to access CCMS at the same time. This is done through concurrent session management. On day 1, CCMS access will be limited to 1,000 concurrent users, so 1,000 people will be able to access the system simultaneously on day 1. We are doing this to manage system capacity and minimize the risk of system outages and poor performance. Throughout the phased onboarding approach, our technical teams will be monitoring system performance. If the evidence of system performance is positive, we will then be able to release more user roles and functionality and increase the number of concurrent CCMS sessions. This initial period will run for 2 days. By day 3, if CCMS is proven stable, the remaining CCMS user roles will be released for firm administrators to assign, and at this point, full system functionality will have been restored and billing work can also be undertaken. Third parties such as cost lawyers, drafters, barristers, and clerks will be invited to complete registration, and upon registration, they will be able to access CCMS. We will also increase concurrency user limits to 2,000 users. So by day 3, 2,000 simultaneous users will be able to access CCMS. This period will run until the end of that week, which we're calling day 5. Should CCMS remain stable through this period, we'll gradually increase CCMS concurrency user limits to 6,000 simultaneous users. By week commencing the 1st of December, we will enable access to CCMS for providers that hold civil-only contracts. Provider administrators in those firms will then be able to assign user roles to their users. At this point, CCMS will be available to all users with full functionality. During this period, you may experience some limited access as we carefully monitor system health and expand capacity. We will communicate throughout with regular updates and inform you when you are able to access the service, ensuring a safe and reliable restoration for all users. You'll also be able to see on the slide that CCMS will be available from 7 AM to 9:30. I'd also like to mention Civil Apply. When phased rollout commences, we will also restore Civil Apply, so that will be from the week commencing the 24th of November. There will be no maximum concurrency controls, so we'd encourage providers to use Civil Apply instead of CCMS, which is available to all providers in the following categories. So domestic abuse, excluding domestic abuse protection orders, Section 8, combined domestic abuse and Section 8, again excluding domestic abuse protection orders, Special Children Act proceedings, and public family law proceedings. For those of you who haven't used Civil Apply previously, you will be able to find guidance for Civil Apply on the Legal Aid Learning website. But in short, firm administrators need to enable the Civil Apply role for their users. Okay, I'd like to move on to talk about case reassignment. As you'll know, following the outage, new accounts have been created for all users. This means when you log into CCMS with your new account information, you will not be able to immediately access the cases you previously worked on, and therefore won't immediately be able to see actions and notifications assigned to those cases. However, because the cases are linked to your firm, and your new account is also linked to your firm, you will be able to access your existing cases and reassign them as necessary. You'll also be able to search the case and view any actions and notifications. However, once a case has been reassigned, actions and notifications will be sent to the updated contact name as usual in CCMS. Reassigning the case is straightforward. I've shown the relevant pages of CCMS on the screen. Guidance for this is available on the Legal Aid Learning website. However, simply search for the case in CCMS and scroll to available actions, select amend provider details, and choose your new Silas username from the drop-down menu. New applications that are drafted and submitted using your new Silas account will be handled as normal, and the provider contact selected will receive any actions and notifications. In terms of case reassignment, this does not all need to be undertaken immediately. We recommend that you prioritize reassignment based on your operational needs. However, for instance, you may wish to begin with live cases requiring amendment, or cases that are going to require bill submissions, or any cases that are currently in train where you'd expect to be receiving actions and notifications from the legal aid agency.
I appreciate that we've shared a lot of information today. To support you, there are several resources that we're making available to you. This includes guidance and a video tutorial on the Legal Aid Learning website. CCMS specific training sessions will also be made available to you, so look out for these on Eventbrite. If you require assistance, support channels are clearly signposted in these slides, which we'll share with you alongside the recording. We would appreciate any feedback. Please do complete the survey, which will be emailed out to you, and let us know how we're doing and how we can improve further. To also note that the representative body meetings will now be held weekly, and the process efficiency team meetings are resuming, and these are just some of the channels of communication and engagement available to you. As we look ahead, we recognise that there is still a lot of work to do on the road to full recovery. Our intention is to phase out business continuity measures. We'll do this in a staggered approach, and we recognise that we need to maintain some dual running between system switch on and contingency application processes until access is restored for all providers. This is an approach that we took to crime system restoration recently, and it worked well and was reflected also in the positive feedback received. And with that, final thank you for attending today's webinar. Please look out for further communications from the Legal Aid Agency with additional guidance and instructions. Thank you.